with us today. He came in last week to hunt with us. He's been with us the past 4 days, and he's from Alabama, so out there on the East Coast in the Atlantic Flyway. And we really wanted to give him, you know, the Arkansas show. We wanted to show him what the mallards were all about. Unfortunately, they did not show up for the show, so we were pretty much just been sitting out there twiddling our thumbs the past few days. So Alan, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your YouTube channel.
All right, well, my name is Alan O'Brien. I'm from South Alabama, and technically we're considered part of the Mississippi Flyway.
Oh, really?
But my theory is we're really not part of any flyway because we don't hardly have any birds. And the birds we do get, if you look at the way the Mississippi Flyway runs and the Atlantic Flyway, we kind of run right between them. So, in my opinion, we get strays. Is what we get off of each flyway. We have tons and tons of wood ducks, which is primarily coming from your Atlantic Flyway a lot, you know, because they're just full of them. But yeah, I'm the founder and creator of the Black Belt Waterfowl YouTube channel, which I started. That channel and was inspired by people like you with Chasing Green, Elliot from Freelance, and matter of fact, the first duck hunting show I watched on YouTube was Elliot.
I think it was me too.
And I was watching and I was like, who is this guy, you know? And I was like, this is just a normal Joe out here duck hunting, you know? And I got to thinking, I said, man, I can do that. So me and my son Kay got to talking about it, and sure enough, we started filming a little bit and got to enjoying it, and you know, it's kind of become a father-son hobby. So, you know, luckily, Lord willing, and Lord has blessed us, and it's actually growing, you know, and we're enjoying it, and we look forward to where it may go in the future.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, so me and Alan kind of met back during the summer. I did a podcast with him, and we got to talking, and he was telling me just kind of a little bit about how they hunt over there, what they hunt, and I was just kind of excited to get them over here in Arkansas, where we just see thousands of ducks. We're blessed, you know, duck capital of the world, they say. But I'm starting to kind of doubt that. But we just wanted to put him on a mallard beatdown. But he brought his son Cade with him, and I bet we've walked more miles than ducks we shot. So if that tells you how it's been going. But we got one more day, and hopefully we get them. But I just want to start out talking a little bit about what it's like hunting in Alabama. Like, how do y'all get on the ducks? What kind of, you know, terrain and stuff are y'all hunting, and what are you primarily targeting?
Right. Well, you know, like, since we've been here, everything we've done has been walk-in hunting. Well, we don't have little to no walk-in hunting in Alabama. If there's any walk-in hunting in Alabama, it's going to be on private ground where somebody's got a beaver pond or something like that. You can go and walk in and hunt. But 95% of the duck hunting habitat in Alabama, in the southern part of the state where I live, is all river systems, sloughs, and flats off of the river back, you know, where they built a dam and they backed the water up, and it's just got some what we call cuts. Some people might call it a lake, but we call it a cut because it's not really a slough. It actually is a slough in the center of it, but when they backed it up, put the dam in, it floods everything out. It just turns into a big, more or less a big cove, and we call them cuts where we're from. And that's primarily what we have to hunt.
Yeah.
And it's terrible habitat. I mean, it really is. It's just big water. There's really not much feed or forage for the ducks to feed on. It's lots of sawgrass. There used to be some underwater grasses, some milfoil and things like that, but the Corps of Engineers, they go around and they spray that stuff, which I understand why they do, because they say it breaks loose when the floodwaters come up, and it gets caught up in the turbines and causes problems at the dams. But at the same time, they're also destroying the habitat. They're destroying the things that the duck and the other wildlife are feeding on. So it's tough hunting. I mean, it really is. You know, just about everything you do, you're going to do from a boat. You've got to get there by boat, and depending on the water level and how much rain you've had, you're going to have to hunt out of a boat. You know, so we have
tough.
It's terrible, and you know that's not. It's hard enough to hide yourself in a marsh, but then you throw a boat into the equation with a blind and everything else. Well, you know, and I think about it like this: when the Lord made the earth, nothing is symmetrical. Everything, nothing's square. Nothing's perfectly round.
Yeah.
you know, and then you put a rectangle boat in the middle of a marsh.
Oh yeah.
It don't matter how much brush and blind you got on it, it sticks out. There's nothing you can do about it. So it's extremely hard to hide that. And you can still kill some birds, or you're gonna have some that are gonna come right in, but a lot of them pick it out pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know, because it just don't look right. And
so what are you primarily targeting?
primarily our number one duck is the wood duck. And if it gets cold enough and we get a good push of birds, we're going to see some gadwall, a few green-winged teal, maybe a few mallards. Most of them are local mallards because on that reservoir where we live, there's tons and tons of river houses and camps, and some of them, they've come down and they just stay because people feed. They got deer feeders all in their yard. People feed them, and a lot of them just turn into just resident birds.
Oh, good dog.
And they don't fly around much. They don't work. They stay around those houses.
Yeah.
They may go off somewhere and roost, but they come right back, and you'll see them all in people's yards, and they're all around the little boat ramps and things like that because people throw them bread. And I mean, it's just, you think they're tame birds, but you know, you see how many it is, and you know that didn't nobody go and buy that many.
So it's a good many mallards.
It is. It's more than you would think, but
like hundreds.
no, I wouldn't say hundreds. I mean, you gotta think somebody like us that don't get mallards, you see 20, and that's a lot.
Oh yeah.
You know,
yeah.
so, but yeah, primarily wood ducks. If it gets cold enough, we see some gadwall and some green-winged teal.
So from what I've gathered off your channel, you also target divers a lot in the Gulf.
Yes, we like to shoot the divers because we have probably more of them than anything. And they winter down there on the Gulf Coast, which is only about a 2.5 hour ride from my house and where I live. So we can make that 2.5 hour ride where you can only go and shoot so many wood ducks, and then that's just not any fun anymore because you know, they fly right there at daylight. It lasts about 10 minutes and it's over. So it don't take very long, and you just get burnt out on that. But we can go down to the Gulf. The redheads, the bluebills, buffleheads. If it gets good and cold enough, we see a few canvasbacks. But we can go down there. I've never seen any. I know of some that's been killed down there, but I personally have never seen any.
That's one I've never killed.
No, me neither. But you know, the divers, the redheads, bluebills, they all winter down there, so they're not going anywhere. So you can go down there, and we can set up in the Gulf out there in the salt water in the marsh, or we can go out to a bar and just hunt the big open Gulf. And
yeah. So when you were telling me about it, you know, I'm picturing like Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, like out there on the beach set up.
No.
What's it like?
Well, it's the same water. Well, you know, I don't know how familiar you are with Alabama, but you go through Mobile. A lot of people you may have heard of Mobile.
Oh, we've been through that.
Okay, if you've been through Mobile, then you may have seen the Mobile Bay. Like if you're going to Gulf Shores, all right, that's primarily where we start. We'll launch right in there, and we'll go out into the Gulf.
Okay.
We'll get out away from the port, and you get out there in the big water, and there's some islands and some marshy areas out there, more so just islands.
So it's like grasses or just bare?
It is. It's grasses. It'll be some grasses out there. It's you know what needlegrass is. I know you've seen that in beaver ponds. Oh, yeah. It's basically very similar to needlegrass, except it's going to be about 4.5 to 5 foot tall.
Yeah.
It's just big tall grasses. It's just like needlegrass. It's round and it's sharp, and it will poke your eyes out. It's extremely brittle.
So that's what you guys are hiding in.
Yep, that's what we do. We set our long line decoys out and a few Texas rigs. We usually try to set up in a J shape or like a U or C, and we'll go hide the boat around the backside of the marsh, and we usually set up some panel blinds or something like that, because I mean, the diver ducks, they're not like these puddle ducks. They're either coming or they're not. There's really no calling and them responding. They're either gonna come in there to your decoys and you're gonna kill them, or they're gonna fly on by.
Yeah.
And we've been set up before and have the boat not even be 60, 80 yards around the corner, sticking out like a sore thumb out there in the Gulf, and they just dive bomb right over the top of the boat and into the decoys. They're the dumber of the ducks, you know.
Yeah.
But they're a lot of fun to shoot, but the bag limits are so low, and that's what makes it. That's what the bad side of diver hunting is.
So I take it kind of what the key is to the divers is size of decoy spread, being visible.
Big spreads. The more you got out there, the better off you're going to be. I typically run anywhere from 7 to 8 dozen. I would like to have 15 or 20 dozen.
Yeah.
But it's just, you need a really big boat to carry all that.
Do they pattern off the tides?
Yes. Yes, they do. They like a lot of wind, and they like not really a high tide, but you want the tide to be coming back in. So more so, I guess you could say a high tide, but they really seem to move the best after it's done reached the lowest point at low tide and the water's coming back with a good wind. That's when they roost out there in the big water.
Mm-hmm.
They'll raft up and roost on the water, and they'll come inland and feed around those marshes.
Yeah.
So you want to catch them when they're coming back.
So they're coming to that fresh flood, basically.
Basically.
So you want to set up pretty shallow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. So, what kind of boat does it take to run out there? I mean, I imagine it could get pretty hairy at times.
Yeah, I'm using just a 1548 aluminum boat, and it's not big enough.
Yeah.
That's when you get out in the ocean in a 15-foot aluminum boat, it can be sketchy. So you really have to pay attention with the wind. You don't want to get out there in a boat like I've got with the wind over 10 miles an hour, because then you're getting into 3 and 4 foot seas.
Yeah.
And that's extremely dangerous in a small boat.
Have you ever had any close calls or bad situations?
No, we've had lots of water get in the boat, hitting waves or it coming in the side of the boat. We've had lots of water getting.
That sounds like a pretty sketchy situation.
Well, nothing life threatening,
Yeah.
but it
Cade had a bucket and was bailing out, huh?
Yeah, he was about ready to a few times, but just even getting up on plane and running the boat, it's just beating your brains out, because it's just 3 foot seas, and that aluminum boat's so light.
Yeah.
And it's just taking a beating.
I've always heard that hunting, in the Gulf and around that salt, it just eats your gear to pieces.
Man, it's terrible. I mean, I'm not going to stand here and tell you that I'm real big on cleaning a shotgun.
Yeah.
I keep mine oiled up because of that, because we spend a lot of time in the salt water, and if whether your gun gets wet or not, when you're down there in that salt water and that salt air, there's moisture in the air, it will corrode and rust up anything it comes in contact with.
Even if you're not like dropping or actually getting the water, it'll still just be in there.
Just be in there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's rough, because like here overnight you got the dew. Well, down there, that dew, a lot of that moisture is coming off the ocean,
And it's
so
salt.
it's got salt in it.
Gotcha.
The salt content may not be as high as what's in the water, but it's still in the air, in the moisture in the air, so it will eat up everything you've got. You really got to keep your gun oiled up, and then not only that, you walking out there picking up birds or setting decoys, your hands are gonna get wet, and then you pick up that shotgun and you got one finger going in that trigger housing, sliding that safety back and forth, and you just have to be conscious of what you're doing. You get home and wipe that thing down, spray it down with some good oil, or you're gonna open up your gun safe and have a rusty stick.
Yeah, I'd say equipment maintenance is one of our definite weaknesses, so I think we'd struggle down there.
It wouldn't take but one hunt, and you'd say, "Whoop, we got to pay more attention to this."
Oh man, yeah, my gun's pretty rusty just hunting what we hunt. But about the worst we got to deal with here is buckshot. Usually, if you get buckshot in there, which you know what that is,
right? Right.
It's just it'll gum into pieces, like basically renders it useless.
Exactly.
But anyway, well, let's transition from what you do there to what you've seen here. Like, I know it's been about, I've told him, I've been duck hunting a long time. If this isn't the worst stretch that I've ever had, it's definitely in the top 3 or 4. I mean, it's been terrible. But even so, we have seen some birds. One morning we lit a group of about 20, 25 mallards. We're not going to talk about how many we killed out of it, but we still put them in the decoys, and it was awesome. So
it was.
So talk a little bit about what you've seen in Arkansas so far. What's kind of stood out to you, and what have you liked and not liked?
Well, I've really enjoyed hunting the timber, and the beaver ponds and stuff, because like I said, where I live, that's not an option. Mm-hmm. When the river gets out, that's when there is a flooded timber option to hunt, if you can get on the private land, because we're only allowed to hunt the navigable water channel.
Yeah.
So once the river gets out the banks, we can't do anything with it. Even if it's on public ground, you can, but they don't like you doing that, because it's not supposed to be duck hunted. That ground is for deer hunting or turkey hunting. They don't want you in there doing that. So, and the public ground we have, most of it, we don't have a lot of WMAs that are open for duck hunting. So most of our public land that we hunt is core land. Well, on core land in Alabama, you can only use a bow. So that knocks out your duck hunting. So that's why you can't hunt it when it's flooded, when the river gets up. So it's hairy like that.
That's
so,
crazy.
Yeah, I know it's crazy.
You can hunt all the core land here.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
see, they have one place on the core land at home. They have a little pond, and it's like a reservoir, but it's really just a roost hole. So I mean, it's almost a waste of time because you go over there and you try to set up, and the birds pitch up and leave 5 minutes before shooting light.
Yeah.
And it's a waste of time. So we really just have to rely on the rivers and the lake system, or backwater sloughs and stuff off the river. But that's what I've enjoyed here is, y'all over here, y'all can hunt this flooded timber when the river gets out and it floods these, your management areas and places like that. We don't have that option. So it's really been fun for us to experience that, even though we haven't killed a lot of birds. It's just something we don't get to do. Now, tons and tons of rainfall, and y'all keep talking about that, how much the mallard ducks like fresh water, and I've always heard that as a duck hunter. I'm like, yeah, I know that because I've heard it 100 times, but I've never experienced it. So I don't, that's new to us.
Yeah. So
we're really looking forward. Hopefully tomorrow, with all this rain, we got a lot of fresh water. Maybe we can get on a good hunt.
Yeah. Well, like I said, one thing that I am glad, every day that we've hunted it, really except the first day, we've had at least a group or two, even if the third day it was only a group of 3 mallards, but we've had ducks in the decoys doing right, greenheads, and I'm glad you at least got to experience that, and all of them we did call, because that's what it's all about.
That's
I mean,
right.
It's about communicating with them, calling, and I've enjoyed you calling with us. It's been fun, because being where you're from, I was not expecting you to sound very good, to be honest with you. Just because you don't hunt many mallards,
Right.
But it sounds great, I mean, you definitely could pass for an Arkansas duck hunter. I mean, it's interesting to say that because, like, we've traveled to other places and the calling styles are different everywhere. So I figured in Alabama or over there on the east, things would just sound a little different, be a little like in Kansas, things sounded a lot different than they do here,
Right.
And that could be good or bad to me. I like the way Arkansas sounds because I'm from here, but it just. Yeah, you could definitely hang here on your calling for sure. It sounds really good. So that was interesting to see. But yeah, what have you thought about the walking side of things? Has it been tougher than you expected, or about what y'all do over there?
It was exactly, you and I talked this summer when we had the live stream and stuff, and we've been in contact with each other, through text messages and phone calls, ever since. And no, it really wasn't a surprise. I've watched your channel. I know what y'all do, and it really wasn't a surprise to me. We also went to Nebraska early this season, and we were doing the same thing. We were walking a mile and a half to get into a marsh, to a public place. So we'd already and that was really our first time really experiencing walk-in hunting because we don't have it where we're from. So it wasn't the strenuous side that really affected us. It was the not really sure what we needed to have and what we could leave behind.
Yeah.
That's where we struggled we've been there twice, and that's when we went back on the second time. That's when we separated. Okay, look, we don't need all this stuff. This is what we really need, and this is what we're going to take.
Yeah.
So coming here and seeing how y'all do it here in the timber and what you take, a dozen decoys, I sit here and think, man, I'm thinking we need about 3 or 4, but then I see that you had to walk through, a mile and a half of mud over your ankles and cypress knees and vines, and it's just beaver dams and walking through beaver runs, and okay, light as possible, just get the bare essentials, and let's go kill some ducks.
Yeah, I mean, here in what we do, which we like to have the biggest spreads possible, and we have been running bigger this year, but it's really always been about the call-in, the jerk string, having a little bit of motion, and just a few decoys, because that's really what's effective to being mobile like that. It's efficient, and in the timber, I mean, it is nice having decoys, but to me, it's way more about lots of calling and lots of motion, at least early. The later it gets, the less you can call, but I mean, it's no secret. If you got 10 excellent callers in the timber, it is super effective.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I mean, they can't see what's in there, so
Right.
they just hear it. And if you ever see ducks rafted up in the timber, that's exactly what they do. They feel real secure in there, and they get out there and just get to whacking, you know.
Right. Right.
But anyway, so what's some things that, or what stood out to you that you didn't expect that was kind of a negative, like it's been not what you thought it would be here? Or maybe something that surprised you.
You know, I feel like I've watched enough Arkansas duck hunting on TV and on YouTube that it's so far it's kind of really been how I expected it it to be. I really have not experienced the curveball, not yet. Now things may change tomorrow, but right now so far everything has just been, you know, like, oh, okay, that's pretty much how I thought it was gonna go, you know. But other than, you know, we haven't seen a lot of birds. You watch it on TV and you watch it on YouTube, and of course now, you know, people are only gonna show you when it's good. They're not gonna show you when it's bad.
Oh yeah.
You know, but you know, where we're from in Alabama, I know lots and lots and lots of people who come up here who are in duck clubs or have a lease or something like that, or come up here on the guided hunt in Stuttgart or somewhere. You know, and they kill lots and lots of birds. And you hear about, oh yeah, Arkansas is full of them, they're full of them, they're full of them, and y'all are. You really are. You come spend a week where I live, and and this week, this bad week you're having here is an awesome week. You just don't understand. That's why I keep telling you, don't beat yourself up. This is way better than you realize.
Yeah.
But, you know, like yesterday, you know, me and Cade, we rode up to Stuttgart. We went to Max Prairie Wings, and we were just dumbfounded at the amount of snow geese and specks we saw, you know, just right beside the road, you know, and I was like, this is insane, you know. I mean, hundreds of thousands of birds.
Yeah.
We've never seen that before, you know, so, you know, nothing has really taken me by surprise. It's all just been kind of a wow factor.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's awesome, man. So what, out of the 3 places you went, which day and place was your favorite and why?
I really like the first place we went.
Gotcha.
I really like that, just because that's, like I said, I've watched it on TV. I've watched you guys in the timber. That flooded green timber. That's always been a bucket list thing for me. Hunt or not, it's just something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And you know, just being there, just thinking, all right, just any minute, you know, they're gonna dive bomb down through these trees, and you know, it's exciting. But I will say one negative thing that I don't like about the timber, and it's because I'm not used to it, but where I'm from, where we hunt, it's just you're hunting big water, so you can see and as far as you want in any direction. I don't like the fact in the timber that I can't tell where they're coming from.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you can't see them work. And I'll tell you about that later, about how we feel about timber. I mean, we like it. We're blessed with it. But like that place we took you the second and third day, that's more our style. Like,
Right.
Like, that's what we like. That beaver swamp stuff. I
Right.
mean, you get the best of both worlds. You can see them work, but you're kind of still in the timber a little bit. But it's like more of an... We'll go over that later. But I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But we got one more day left. We've had a lot of rain. I hope that we can get them tomorrow. But if I had known that the timber was your thing, we would have definitely went there every day and gave it more of a shot. Well, tell me this. I consider myself to have a pretty nice beard. but yours puts mine to shame. So tell me, how long have you been growing this time?
This past September was a year since I have shaved or cut my hair. I haven't done anything.
So you just went wild, man.
I did, you know, and
that's pretty cool.
I tell you, and I get people point fingers at me all the time. Oh, you just trying to be one of them duck commanders. That's not the case. They don't understand. They don't know the reason. All right, and I'll share the reason right here on YouTube today. My first job, my first real career, I was a professional firefighter. That's what I did for a living. I was a full-time paid firefighter. Well, we had to be clean shaven. We had to keep our hair cut. They couldn't be on the ears. It couldn't touch the collar. So you had to keep your hair cut, which you're wearing a mask, so you have to seal, and that's your life. So you don't want to gamble with that, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I understood that. And then You know, I went into welding as a construction worker. I was a pipe welder. Well, I could let my hair grow some, but I got sweat getting in my eyes, so I kept it cut and I kept my beard trimmed up for the most part. And then I got on at the paper mill where I work now. Well, when they found out that I was a former professional firefighter, they put me on the emergency response team because of all of my credentials and training that I've had. Well, guess what? Had to keep my hair cut, had to keep my face clean.
Yeah.
So, you know, and after about 3 years of that, I shared all of the knowledge I could with those guys, and I said, look, I didn't sign up for this. That part of my life is over. I'm done with it. I enjoyed it. I've got some good memories, and I've got some really bad ones. But that part's over. I'm done with the emergency response. And I got off of the team, and I have not cut or shaved my hair since that day.
Awesome, man. That's awesome. So you're going.
I just let it go, man. And you know, after duck season's over, I'm probably gonna trim it back to about what you got now, just because it gets aggravated. It gets caught in the zipper on my coat, and
yeah,
you know, it's just a pain in the butt sometimes. But you know, it's been nice to just let it go.
That's pretty cool, man. I like that. Well, tell us what you know, you got a YouTube channel. What do you got coming up? You gonna try to, what's your plans for the future on that?
Well, my plans for the future with my YouTube channel, as I try to post at least one video a week, every Wednesday at 10 o'clock. I didn't have anything for this past week because we have been on a complete dry run, and we brought it with us to Arkansas. That's the bad thing. But, you know, we got a little footage yesterday. Me and Kay went out on a little quick hunt this evening. We got a little bit of footage from there. So, at least, worst case scenario, between those two, I can put that together and have a little something. But I want to continue to keep posting weekly, all through the off season. I've got some things coming up that I'm not going to share just yet. But, to kind of keep the ball rolling. And I know, you know, when you move into February and March and April, people really they don't care nothing about duck hunting unless they're people like you and I who just could do it 365 days a year.
Oh, yeah.
And there are lots of people out there that are like that, and that's who, you know, watches your content and mine too. So, you know, it'll be waterfowl related, but it's also going to kind of introduce you to me and who I am in my personal life and what I do away from duck hunting.
Cool.
So I kind of going to take that little venue during the off season, and then later in the summer when it starts getting closer to teal season, we'll transition back into the waterfowl world. You know, getting tips and tricks and getting prepared. You know, getting your gear ready. You know, that type stuff.
Cool, man. Excuse me. Well, tell everybody where they can find you. Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. You
can find me on Instagram at Black Belt Waterfowl. It's all lowercase, and you can check me out on YouTube also at Black Belt Waterfowl. Go on there and check me out. Tap the subscribe button. Click the notification bell. I really appreciate it. Any and all support. I don't really do Facebook or Twitter or none of that stuff. I'm just on Instagram and YouTube, so you can check me out on there, and I would appreciate any and all support.
Cool, man. Well, let me hit you with a lightning round real quick.
All right.
Never done this before, straight off the fly. What kind of shells do you shoot?
Boss.
What size?
3-inch, number 3.5 mix.
What kind of gun?
Franchi Affinity 3, 12 gauge.
Favorite waders?
Favorite waders so far, I've got 2 pair. I've got Frog Togs and the Rogers 2-in-1 Tough Man, and I like the Rogers Tough Man way better than the Frog Tog.
Least favorite waders?
Least favorite waders is going to be lacrosse neoprene.
Gotcha. Okay, favorite decoy?
Favorite decoy, Dakotas, hands down. I think they got the best sculptor and best paint scheme, bar none, on the market.
Choke constriction?
I like a modified aftermarket choke. I do shoot a full sometimes on the big water, just for the wind purposes and things like that. But I really just stick with the modified.
Single reed or double reed?
I like both, but I prefer the double because I don't consider myself a skilled duck caller very well yet, and to me that's more when the better you get, you transition to that single reed.
Absolutely.
So
I agree. Okay, what type of call?
I like an echo. You put me on that this summer when we did the live stream with you. You told me about the echo you had, and I went and bought one shortly after. I wasn't really sure if I was gonna like it, so I went with the lower end polycarb double reed. I love it. I actually bought another one yesterday at Max Prairie Wings, and I'm not happy with it.
What was it?
It's the Echo Breaker,
Oh yeah.
and it'll quack, sounds beautiful, but it won't feed. Period.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's going to about wrap it up. Hope you enjoyed it. You can find this, of course, here on YouTube if you're watching this, but you can also listen to it on Spotify, Podbean, anywhere you find your podcasts. Listen to our other episodes. We've really enjoyed having you here, Ellen. I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you coming to Arkansas, man.
And I appreciate the invite. This has been a duck hunting lifetime dream for me to come to Arkansas. So
well, we hope to have you back, and we hope to have it go down next time, and hopefully in the morning.
That's right.
But hey, as always, we appreciate you watching. We love you, and Lord willing, we'll catch you next time.